Wow. It's your boy Jay. It's the Digital Revolution podcast. Guys, the revolution will not be televised. Guys, everybody is welcome here. Welcome. Come inside. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe the information that I'm kicking to you. I just want to let everybody know to come as you are here. All are welcome. And above all else, we need to learn to love each other and we must learn to love ourselves. Okay. Hopefully that sticks. I hope all are just doing well and they're with their loved ones and that they're spreading love on this planet and not hatred. Guys, this is going to be, I hope you guys can hear me out there. Again, please like and subscribe if you like the information I'm kicking to you. Sorry if these end up being longer than I intend, but there's just so much going on right now. And I'm a little anxious to present this, but anyways, I'm just gonna go ahead with it. In the last podcast, I was talking about, in this podcast, I have a series called Ask the Oracle. What is the Oracle? What is the Oracle? I don't know what the Oracle is, but I'm just joking. But what the Oracle is, what I do know it is that it's a series of predictive programs. You ask the Oracle a question, right? And then you get an answer. It's a series of pattern recognition and predictive program. And I would like to think of it as an intuitive software, a divinely intuitive software that we're using to predict future outcomes. Very similar to what BlackRock uses, but not exactly. I'm not saying that I have the, the patents or anything like that or technology. As you know, guys, BlackRock has a computer program called Aladdin that I believe can predict the future and can see into the future, or at least um, maybe not necessarily read or predict the future, but is able to understand the cycles. And that's very similar to the work of Charles Nanner and very similar to the work of Martin Armstrong. I'm not saying that I'm anything like those guys. I have my own methodology. And today I'm going to share some of that methodology with you. And again, please like and subscribe if you like some of the information that I'm kicking to you. This is going to be one of those weird, wacky podcasts that I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope that it brings some insight. But we're going to be asking the Oracle, and I'm going to start a series on my podcast called Ask the Oracle. Guys, if you want, you can ask the Oracle anything yourself. You can ask it the most random question, like when will I die? You can ask the questions like when is the end of the world? God forbid. Um, but I kind of did ask it something like that I would like to share with you guys. You could ask it, is my husband or is my wife cheating on me? What do they really think about me? What do they really feel about me? You can ask it any kind of a question, and then it will spit back an answer. Guys, it's your boy Jay. It's the Digital Revolution podcast. Guys, the revolution will not be televised. This is going to be some wonky, crazy shit that we're going to be getting into tonight. And I hope you guys follow me on this. I'm not going to cover equities, but just really briefly, it looks like we're having some sell-off in the equities, the S&P 500. Like I said in the last podcast, we saw that on the hour chart and on the 4 hour chart, that or no, it was on the hour chart and the 4 hour chart that the price moved below its 50-day two moving day average. And that on the day chart, we're starting to see a trend on all those time frames of a major sell-off. I did ask, just to speed this up a little bit, I did ask the Oracle about the stock market, and it gave me some it gave me some conflicting answers. Um, it gave me a conflicting answer in the sense that there's an expectation for it to go down. So if people are expecting for the market to go down, it could very well go down. Also, there is a little bit of an expectancy for it to go up. So it kind of has not a bias, but the predictive programming that we're using, this intuitive software that we're using, it recognizes it intuitively recognizes the expectations of both it going up and down. But the Oracle has mentioned something to the effect that the market is going to go sideways, that it could very well go down. It's more likely. And again, when we're talking with the oracle and we ask the oracle questions, it is more of probabilities. There's nothing is 100%, but I would say over the years that I've used this technology, that it has been anywhere from 85% accuracy to 90 to almost 100% accuracy, and that's just on me from the things that I asked it, and I've asked it all kind of random questions. Again, it's your boy Jay. This is Digital Revolution Podcast. I hope you guys are following me on this. This is some crazy, wacky shit. I never thought I would ever. Um, do this segment on here of Ask the Oracle. But yeah, I'm not going to get too much into equities because we have a lot to ask the Oracle. We have a lot to ask the Oracle. And guys, feel free to ask the Oracle anything like, hey, is my husband cheating on me? Is my wife cheating on me? What does this person think about me? How's my love life? How's not my love life? What's going on with the economy? Again, it's not financial advice. And for all intents and purposes, I would say this, none of this is financial advice. And let's just say for all intents and purposes that this is entertainment. Although in my own personal life, when I do ask the Oracle questions, I do take it seriously because over the years I've noticed that it has a high likely or it has a high probability of what am I trying to say? It has a strong probabilities of it happening. So yeah, so I asked it about the stock market, and it said that it is a very strong probability of it going down and moving sideways. And the sideways or the ranging action that the stock market is going to go down, it could be a sell-off. And again, the intuitive software doesn't compute the same thing humans compute. It intuitively collects all this information, and it really is pattern recognition. It's all about pattern recognition. And so it's recognizing all of these weird, various anomalies and patterns. And so again, when you answer the question like the stock market, it is picking up, it is the intuitive software is picking up that there's an expectation for it to go down. So just because people expect that the stock market to go down doesn't mean that it's going to go down. It could very well go up, but there's also a probability and an expectation for the market to go up. So the answer that it gives you, or that the answer that it has given, is that the market could go down and move sideways and consolidate anywhere from the next year to 2 years, that we could see major consolidation in the market. That's and if we and that is a very strong probability, very strong probability, not a possibility. Um, that we could see that. That doesn't mean that people are not making money, but it also means that people are losing money because remember, in a trading market, you have to be very knowledgeable. So I think from what I gather from it, that it's saying that the stock market could very well go down to 35 to almost 60%, and then be in a ranging market, or that it could go down anywhere from 5% to, well, I'm not going to say 5%, anywhere from 20%, and then be stagnating for the next 2 to 10 years, so that we can expect to see that in the market. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen. But anyways, I digress. It's your boy Jay. It's a Digital Revolution podcast. And the guys, bear with me for trying to speak extemporaneously about these complicated subjects. I mean, I'm talking about stock markets, economies, exopolitical issues, exopolitical things. And then there's just a lot of stuff out there in the news media that is just all bull fucking shit. So hopefully I'm just getting to the true crux of it. I mean, there's some podcasts and radio shows that they do talk about aliens and they do talk about all this weird shit, but it's like, I don't like, just tell me what it is. It's so, oh, excuse me. Sometimes it's really hard to say, and hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. And so I asked the Oracle about what is going on. And I guess, let me just share my screen and then we can get into it and we can go from there. So yes, hopefully you guys can see this. And it's your boy Jay. This is Digital Revolution Podcast. And hopefully you guys can see this. Um, this is going to be really difficult for me to do because this consumes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of time and energy to put these presentations together. Guys, forgive me. I am not an English English major, but I have worked for newspapers and I have worked for all sorts of things. Guys, please forgive me if the grammar is a little off or the spelling is a little off, because when I was taking these notes, I took it like very synergistically, and I took the notes like almost like in a stream of consciousness, and almost like taking them so fast that I had to get the information from the pattern recognition, because you have to be able to interpret the pattern recognition on a deep and profound level in order to be even able to process the information. So, anyways, I digress as usual, but hopefully, you guys follow me on this, and hopefully, you like it. And please subscribe if you like the information I'm giving to you. This segment in my podcast, Mercury retrograde is fucking everything up. This segment in my podcast is called Ask the Oracle. And guys, again, feel free to be able to comment, and in the comment section, ask the Oracle anything. I may reach out to you guys and ask you to give me further description, because you have to give it some very good description in order for you to get an answer back. But anyways, so I asked the Oracle who and what is happening with the wildfires in Maui and Canada. And I asked it about the wildfires in general. If there was any way that we could ask it a question and get some answers. Now, when I asked, and I'm going to speed this up and I'm going to just kind of do this synergistically. When I asked it about the wildfires, and guys, please bear with me. And again, this is not financial advice. And I'm just going to say everything I'm saying right now in this podcast is allegedly, because I don't know what I can and cannot say in the podcast. And I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want anybody coming after me. And I'm just going to say allegedly. And for all intents and purposes, this is just entertainment for all intents and purposes. Although when I use it for myself, I take it very seriously, because over the years, I find that this method and this methodology, it works anywhere from 85 to 95% to almost 100% accuracy, more so leaning towards the 95% accuracy. When I asked it about the Maui and the Canadian wildfires and all the stuff that's going on, like what's going on with the wildfires, and I'm just going to speed up through the notes because we're going to go over all of these notes. This is what I got. And I'm not saying that these people are connected to it, or that the oracle, when we ask the oracle, that the oracle is giving us a strong probability, not a possibility. It's giving us a strong likelihood. It's giving us more strong likelihoods, where the dial is like no here. It's like the dial is like when you ask it a question, the dial is going to start moving like it's strong. It's very strong indication. It's strong indications. So when I asked it about the wildfires, and I asked it about, the fires in general and the war in Ukraine, this is what comes up. The Pentagon comes up. And I'm not saying that these companies are involved in it, but overall, private defense contractors come up. The war cycle comes up. Conflicts of war come up when we ask it about the questions about what is going on with the Maui fires and what's going on with Maui's guys. And again, for all intents and purposes, let's just say this is entertainment. But when I asked the Oracle about how this is all connected, to be able to give me a predictive program into almost like remote view into the future, and be able to take all this information and spit it out. When I asked it about the wildfires and all the fires and the war in Ukraine and everything that's going on, the Vatican comes up, particularly the banks of the Vatican, and UBS Bank comes up, and these three keys come up, something to the effect of three keys. Now, when you ask the Oracle some questions, it is not able to give you an answer because of the level of complexity, or because there's not enough information. And guys, I hope you follow me on this, because this is I never thought that I would ever sit and try to explain the complexity of asking this sort of intuitive software technology, or be able to explain it, because I've always used it for myself. And I say when I use it on myself, that sometimes when I had asked the Oracle a question, sometimes you ask it a question and you know what the answer is. Like a lot of us already know that a lot of these people or these groups are behind a lot of the corruption that's happening on planet Earth. But today we're particularly asking the Oracle about the Maui fires. And again, I don't mean to offend anybody or any family, because our prayers and our prayers and our hearts go out to the loved ones that have lost everything and have sacrificed everything. But this is sort of like a sacrifice to them. But when I ask it about all these various connections and all these fires that are going on and all the train derailments and everything that's going on with fires and the war in Ukraine, the UBS bank pops up, the Vatican pops up, and the media companies pop up. So the Oracle is trying to tell us, and again, I have to do further research on how these companies and all these corporations are somehow interconnected. But these are some of the pictures that pop up, and then we're going to go over some of the information that pops up that I had to interpret. So again, if some of the okay, so it is screen share. If some of the information is a little that I typed it in wrong, or whatever, it's because I was doing it so fast. But so I asked it about Maui and the fires, and I asked it about all this, and then this is what comes up. Somehow, the media companies are connected to these fires and the energy, the directed energy warfare that creates those fires. Because people over the dark web and over the web is saying that somehow the fires are started by directed energy weapons, but somehow these companies of the Vatican and the Vatican Bank and UBS Bank, and something to do with these three keys that pops up in the algorithm, and something to do with I'm not saying these companies in particular, but with some of the major media companies. Somehow they're involved in it, and the Pentagon is involved in it. But and then this imagery comes up, and these private defense contractors are the ones that we need to be investigating and doing research on. But again, I digress. So again, it's your boy Jay. This is Digital Revolution Podcast, and hopefully you guys can see this. And we're just gonna go, and I'm just gonna read the notes that it brought me to when I asked it the question. So I asked it about, what's happening with the fires in Maui in Canada, what's happening with the world in general. This is overarching, themes or whatever, and what will happen in the next 5 to 20 years. So we're asking the Oracle. We're seeking guidance from the Oracle. We're seeking guidance from the intuitive programming and the predictive programming and the software, and essentially it's pattern recognition. And this is what pops up. So I asked it, show me what's behind the Maui and Canadian fires and the fires recently, and something to do with 1.4 trillion plus in assets connected to the lands. So 1.4 trillion plus in assets that are connected to the land. So according to the patterns and the intuitive programming, it's saying something that this is involved with 1.4 trillion plus in assets that is connected to all these wildfires. It could be way more, and some estimates of it is that 1.4 trillion is just a piece of it, but overall it could be somewhere between 1.4 trillion as one piece of it, and then it's anywhere from 400 trillion to 800 trillion dollars of assets that this is all involved in. Guys, please bear with me and follow me on this. This is some crazy complicated shit that I'm trying to explain, and I don't even know how I'm beginning to explain this, but this is very deep and complicated. So when I asked the Oracle, when I asked the predictive programming and the pattern recognition software, 1.4 trillion plus in assets is somehow connected to this land. Okay, it could be way more, saying these issues are connected to these assets. Okay, so again, we're asking it a question, and then this is what pops up: a battle. A battle. Someone is losing or has lost a battle. Whereas a battle has taken place, a battle is ending. A brief description: whereas justice isn't prevailing, something with the law, millions of families losing money. Also a spiritual element. So the pattern recognition is picking up that a battle, that this has to do with conflict, that the intuitive software has picked up conflict, and that a battle has taken place. But one of the interesting things that I found out when I asked the Oracle, that the battle is ending. So to me, when I asked it that question, it's like there is some type of energetic pattern that the software is able to pick up that we necessarily cannot understand, but that it is this intuitive software that is saying that we're in the midst of a conflict, but that the battle will end, that there is going to be some relief to this World War III. If we're even indeed, we don't even know what we're in. We don't even know what time frame we're in, because the government and the Caesars have changed the calendars, and the Catholic Church have changed the calendars. So essentially, we don't even know where we are really in the timeline. And from the work of people like Santos Bonacci, um, who is a syncretist and he is an astrotheologist, um, that the time frames have, and the way they teach history is all broken up, that we don't actually know what the timeline is. But anyways, I digress with that. But it's picking up intuitively that yes, there's also a spiritual element to this. Those citizens' homes and land, there's a connection with the lands and their spiritual ancestors. Um, if you believe in spiritual beings looking over those people that are being displaced, and there are elements outside of our consciousness that we cannot understand, that our loved ones, that our loved ones, excuse me. So basically what it's trying to say here, and again, sorry for if there's any grammatical errors, but again, I wrote this so fast I didn't have time to edit it, but it's saying something to the effect that it's picking up a spiritual element, that there's something deeply spiritual about the people and the land and the assets, and that there is a spiritual element to this, and that some people could even say that there's that this is spiritual warfare, and that somehow those Illuminati groups are trying to fulfill biblical prophecy. Not that the prophecy is going to come true, but that they're trying to fulfill that prophecy in order for a one world government, in order to depopulate and create the world in their own image. And again, I hope you guys follow me on this. So just like the book of Revelations is sort of like a dream, it's sort of like a predictive program that's based off of a lot of patterns, maybe not necessarily pattern recognition, but it's based off of a dream. And so, this intuitive programming has to do with that as well, with consciousness itself. But if we have the dream, let's just say that if we have the dream and we know of the dream and we have intuitive information about the dream and we have some sort of insight about probabilities and likelihoods of the future, then there's a possibility that we can change the future. For instance, if you had a dream like those people that had dreams about 9/11 right before 9/11 happened, and for whatever reason they had a dream and the dream was so vivid, they were like, you know what, fuck this. I'm not gonna go to work today because I had some weird, strange premonition. Um, this is sort of what we're referring to. Okay, so some of this is the intuitive programming, and then some of this is my own intuition and trying to connect the pieces. So here I will, so historically speaking, there was the element of dark magic through history over Earth. The element of dark magic and Babylonian magic is what I'm referring to, that most wouldn't understand. So most of us cannot comprehend uh, the vast complexity of history and what happened throughout history in these Illuminati groups, and how they took Babylonian magic, or how they took the Babylonian magic with them and perpetuated society and created all these different societies on the basis of this Babylonian black magic. But again, this is something that is very deep that perhaps we will go deeper into, but that this is somehow connected to these Illuminati groups and magic. So most people wouldn't understand this technology. The technology they have today, you would think it was like magic. The technology is so advanced, you think it's like magic. It's very powerful magic that they practice. And it's the magic is not necessarily like, hocus pocus, diddly do, da da da. Yes, words are involved in it, and incantations are involved in it, but essentially the magic has to do ultimately with deception through religion and government. It is truly magic is a form of trickery and deception, and making you believe something that is not, right? Like an illusion, like an illusionist. Uh, Also, magic not in the way one might think, but a form of trickery and lies, such as money itself. You see, the money that we have itself is a form of Babylonian magic. And if you look at the dollar, and of course, this has already been expounded upon many times over the internet, so I don't want to really go over it, but all the symbols on the dollar bill and the money itself is a form of magic and Babylonian magic that has these magical seals and the symbols. Um, Historically speaking, these Illuminati groups took with them from ancient Iran or Persia the groups from the Medes, and this is where you get the Medici family from, and this is where you get the Farnese family from, because they're coming from these from the Medes, from these Medo-Persian empires. So the Medes taking Babylonian magic with them. So when they moved east into Turkey, they took with them Babylonian magic. Okay. And again, this is very deep and complex, but I don't want to go too deep into a history lesson here. But do understand that we're dealing with a form of ancient magic. The money itself is a form of magic, and we're all under the spell of the money and the fake money and the fact that they can print the money. It is a form of trickery and black arts of deception, going all the way back to these groups. So these groups are going all the way back to Jesus' time. And Jesus came on the scene in first century BCE, and then he died in 33 AD. So these groups have been around since Jesus' time. They tried, these Illuminati groups, they tried to interbreed with the Jesus bloodline, and some people consider Jesus' bloodline the Holy Grail. And this is where you get the myths of the Medici, not the Medici family, but the Merovingian family, and then all the European aristocracy somehow being connected to the Plantagenet family, and all the aristocracy coming from the Plantagenet family. And this is where you get the theories of the Merovingian family. They ended up becoming these Illuminati families that came from the Medes, and when you get the Medici family, one of the first banking families, or how we or where we get the idea of modern banking. Guys, I gotta take a drink because this is some heavy fucking shit. I hope I'm explaining this. I never thought I would be trying to explain some shit like this. But we're using the predictive programming so that we can see what's coming next, and that we can somehow make a change. So, anyways, it's your boy Jay. This is the Revolution Podcast. And so I digress, but let's continue on. So yeah, going all the way back to these groups. So yeah, these groups are coming from Jesus's time. And again, I don't want to go too deep into that, but Jesus's own blood, his own blood was considered the Holy Grail, and allegedly Jesus had children with Mary Magdalene, and that Jesus' bloodline still continued. However, they wanted to interbreed with Jesus' bloodline, and Jesus is coming from the tribe of Judah. These people, these Aryans, and again, they were considered Aryans, and this is where you get Hitler and the Aryan mass race. These Aryans that were that came from the 55th parallel after the last ice age. They had come from the north and moved down. They wanted to interbreed with the Jesus bloodline, so that their bloodline could be divine. They could be divine kings and queens. And so eventually, yes, so we talked about that they have been around since Jesus's time. So yeah, so these Illuminati groups, they end up becoming European aristocracy. They end up becoming the black nobility, eventually morphing into what we know. Eventually, these groups morphed into what we know now as the Vatican, and families like the Breakspears, which really control the Windsor, or the Saxe-Colbert family, which is the Windsor family, or the family that we know that killed Princess Diana, or allegedly killed Princess Diana, or the royal families. And they're also allegedly connected to the Saudi royal family. I'm just going to say allegedly because you have families like you have the 13 Illuminati families, and at the top is the Farnese family. But you also have one of the other families, because the Rothschild is nowhere in this group. The Rothschild is sort of like a conglomerate, or they act on the behalf of these 13 Illuminati families. But you have a family called the Pahlavinci, which are the Imams of Islam. And I'm not trying to defend anybody from Islam. I'm just saying this is just from the research that I have gathered. And again, I'm just piggying a little bit back off of and trying to connect some dots of what the Oracle has said and the long history of where these groups come from, and why the world is so fucked up the way it is, and why we're still on their ancient Babylonian money magic trip. But somehow that the Saudi family is connected to it or connected to those bloodline, and so is the Windsor family. They're all somehow strangely connected. Um, so yes. So again, the Oracle is saying this is meant to cause distress and depression on the population. That these groups that are controlling everything, they want to cause distress and depression on the population. The ones that are behind the Maui fires, and the ones that are behind the fires, and the ones that are behind the war in Ukraine, and that are taking us deeper into World War III. There is an unseen battle taking place, the Oracle is saying. Betrayal of its citizens. This is what the Oracle is saying. However, something will be revealed. Now, this part is very interesting because the Oracle is saying that something is going to be revealed very soon. Guys, take note so that if this happens, you can go back and say, well, this guy did say it. So you know that the Oracle has a level of accuracy that is very spooky and very it's just very spooky and beyond real. The Oracle is saying that there is some hope, although this is a very hopeless situation, but that there is hope. Um, yeah. So betrayal of its citizens, however, something will be revealed. The truth will come out. Oracle is saying that the truth is going to come out. And I believe if the truth comes out, then we can win we can win World War III, and we can prevent the destruction and the depopulation of humanity, which is ultimately what these groups want. The battle, the battle that people cannot see, but the truth will be revealed. There could be a revelation happening. It could be in anywhere from in an 8 month time frame period. So the Oracle said an 8 month time frame that it could be revealed. I hope I'm explaining this right. Please forgive me if I'm all chopped and screwed and everything, but this is a lot of information to get out there, and I never thought I would be trying to explain something this complicated, but about it as complicated as an intuitive software program, a predictive program, and how it's working and how you have to connect it to your own intuition. So again, I'm right here if you guys can follow me. Who is behind the fires? Guys, this was so fucking creepy. I asked it several times, I asked it at least 2 times, and the same pattern came up. Who's behind the fires? The government is behind the fires. Government officials with a particular, and it is saying that the algorithm and the pattern is saying that these particular groups of individuals have a particular spiritual philosophy. These groups of individuals have a particular spiritual philosophy, which is a form of like narcissism, where they believe that they are gods. And this is what the Oracle told us. This is what it told me, or I asked it on behalf of humanity, and this is what it's saying. And this is so. If we do further research, that we will find that we need to connect these dots, and we need to look for these particular groups that have this particular spiritual philosophy of materialism and of that they believe that they are gods. Okay, so government possibly wants keys to the land. So something to do with these keys. These keys keep popping up, and again, when I asked it about the keys, and it's not necessarily saying that it's UBS, but there's a strong likelihood, there's a strong association with these keys because these 3 keys pop up. So the algorithm or the predictive programming is saying that this is where further investigation needs to go into this particular bank. And I thought UBS Bank was done, but again, this is another bank in Switzerland. And I don't know much about UBS other than that they were having some issues, and that these banks in Switzerland, particularly like UBS, manage large, vast sums of wealth, but that they also are implicit in like drug trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and possibly even, I'm just going to say allegedly, child trafficking, but allegedly all the banks are involved in narcotics and child trafficking and all sorts of weird, funny shit. So again, this probability and this keeps popping up with these 3 keys. And so the association is with this bank. And somehow the Vatican and UBS and the media companies and the Pentagon and the private defense contractors are associated with these wildfires And I'm just going to say allegedly. Hopefully, you guys are following me on this. This is your boy Jay. It's the Digital Revolution Podcast. Hopefully, you guys are bearing with me and I'm getting this information across. Please like and subscribe so that the algorithms can get this information out there. This is some very heavy duty shit that I'm dealing with. But I digress. Hopefully, I can get to this. So yes, so who is behind the fires? So yes, the government officials with a particular spiritual philosophy. Government possibly wants keys to the land. It's a land grab. So literally, the algorithm, the oracle is saying that this is a land grab. But again, sometimes it's just confirming what you already know and what you already feel and what you already sense. Also, too, something to the effect of as above, so below. It's quoting as above, so below. Something tied in with Kabbalah, that these groups are somehow connected with Kabbalah and ancient Babylonian magic and Kabbalah, and that the tree of life also pops up. Again, a lot of the stuff that you ask the oracle, random things will pop up and you will have to be able, you have to interpret what it is and connect all these various dots. Sometimes you connect it intuitively, sometimes you're just making all these associations and connections, but the oracle spits out these random things. So these people that are behind everything are somehow connected to Kabbalah, and Mithraism, and what's the other religion? I don't want to mess it up, but they're connected to Kabbalah, and this is somehow connected to the tree of life, or at least the tree of life pops up. The people will feel burdened and carry many burdens, the oracle is saying. It's also referring to unseen spiritual forces, forces working behind the scenes that people cannot see. Again, I was very surprised because everybody is on this pattern of gloom and doom and fear, and the patterns and the program picks that up. It picks up it picks up that energy somehow. It picks up that synergy of that. There's a lot of fear, but I asked it about that, and there is a possibility of hope that if the truth is revealed, that could change that could change the course of history. So we were giving the book of Revelations, we were given the premonitions so that we could change history, and that we would not have to go through that pattern, that particular predictive programming of depopulation and of a scorched earth, which is what ultimately these groups want. Okay, so why? I asked the oracle, why? Why does the government want to do this? The government feels it has to make a sacrifice, it says. Again, don't expect me to be able to explain all of this. This is just so creepy and weird. But again, if you guys are following me and you're just tuning in, I'm asking the oracle, which is a predictive programming, or it's a predictive program that picks up pattern recognition and it spits out these answers. You can ask it almost any question and it will spit out an answer. And I would say that it has anywhere from 85 to 95 to 100% accuracy. From what I've dealt with, is in my own personal opinion, I would say that it has a 95% level of accuracy. But the accuracy is more like strong probabilities, strong possibilities, not an absolute in itself, not a given in itself, but a strong possibility of an event happening or things that could happen. But if you have information, forearm is forewarned. So it's saying it's spitting out about unseen spiritual forces working behind the scenes. A deep spiritual element in humanity that's working behind the scenes, that is connected to the ancestors and that is connected to that land. I would never think that it would say that, but that's what it's saying. But again, this is a freaky, weird channel, and hopefully you guys are liking this, and hopefully we make some dots, but let's see. Okay, so yes, there's a battle going on. We cannot see the public, however, there will be subtle communication about what is really going on within the time frame stated possibly. So it was an 8-month time frame. So the oracle is saying that in 8 months' time, and it could be anywhere from 8 months to 8 years, but it's looking like more of a possibility that in 8 months' time, some information is going to come out about what's going on with these wildfires, guys. About 8 months' time, about what's going on with these wildfires. And again, when I asked it about the wildfires, And I asked it about all the fires in general, what's going on with the war in Ukraine and the wildfires. What pops up again, if you guys are following me, is private defense contractors, the Pentagon, the cycle of war, a war cycle, not this book, but just a war cycle connected with the Vatican or the Vatican banks and UBS Bank and connecting with the media companies. Somehow they're all involved in this. And that's just what the Oracle is saying. I'm not saying that I'm saying this. This is just when I asked the Oracle, this is what it spit out. And it's a shocker. So don't be surprised that if in 8 months' time that all over the web, and I'm not saying that this could happen, but there's a strong possibility or strong probability that we'll find out that there's some real fucked up shit going on within the government. I'm not saying that, that, well, it's a long complex. This is very complicated because you don't know what you can and cannot say on these channels. And again, I'm just gonna say allegedly that there's some really deep fucked up shit going on. And the overarching theme, the overarching energy of this particular predictive programming these patterns is conflict and injustice on the planet. That why we're dealing with all this and why these fires is going on. Of course, this is an injustice, but it has to do with the justice system and how there is no rule of law throughout the whole entire planet. So yes, where was I? So again, hopefully you guys follow me. So yes, so we're asking about who it is, and it said it's the government behind it. Okay, so why? Yeah, so why? So the government feels it has to make a sacrifice. There's a battle going on. So I wrote that overall. Okay, so the overall theme or the overall energy of the pattern is struggle and a battle ending. It's a battle ending, and that really threw me off because again, the intuitive programming and the intuitive software kind of does something to my own consciousness and somehow to my own understanding, because I think that we're all being programmed for some level of or expecting some kind of a conflict that's going to wipe away humanity. But the programming is saying that everything is hinging, that if we see in 8 months' time that all the secrets about what's going on with the government, what's going on with these UFOs, what's really going on with inside the federal government, in 8 months' time, it's all going to be revealed. Guys, make note of that, because you know that this shit is true and that this shit is real and that we can actually predict the future. But the overall message is struggle and a battle ending. Work that isn't being recognized, a loss of work, crops and planting is connected with it. So it's a loss of that. So it's picking up that who is behind this. Going to hear something on the media. So again, it's the government and it's the media companies. They're all interrelated. They're all really owned by the same people. Some truth will be revealed about this. It's connected to the government. Many people will be displaced. Displacing of citizens connects to the 1.4 trillion in land assets. So when I was asking it about the wildfires, it's somehow connected to 1.4 trillion dollars. But that 1.4 trillion dollars of assets that's connected to the fires in Hawaii, connected to the fires in Canada, and all these fires, it's somehow somebody up there is going to get 1.4 trillion dollars in assets. Or that could be the initial phase of it. But it's anywhere from $1.4 trillion initially to anywhere from $400 trillion to $800 trillion heist. It's a heist of the planet, is what the predictive programming with the intuitive software program is picking up. So again, hopefully you guys are following me on this, and I'm just doing a lot of reviews and repeating so that you guys can follow me on this, because this is a very complicated subject. So displacing of citizens connects to the 1.4 trillion in land assets. That's what the Oracle is saying. There's also a random connection with the something like 400 trillion that Prince Charles inherited. So remember when Queen Elizabeth died, Prince Charles, he inherited, and he had to do the coronation. And once he did that, he was officiated to be the king. And you haven't really heard anything from him recently. There was $400 trillion, and it's somehow strangely connected to that $400 trillion that he inherited. once he claimed the throne. So strangely tied to it somehow, further investigation needs to be done to uncover the connections. So it's pointing to the strong likelihood of all the various connections. And then as time moves on, that we may hear about this. And I'm just going to say allegedly, and I'm not saying that this is true, but the oracle is saying that it's a strong likelihood, it's a strong probability. Okay, the government is angry about something, oracle is saying. The oracle is saying that the government is angry about something. What it is I guess it will be revealed. Somehow tied to the Vatican or the Jesuits. I'm gonna say more so that this is tied to the Jesuits, and I make that connection with a woman named Lauren Moraes, if I'm saying her name correctly. If you guys just go on Rumble or you type in YouTube, she is I don't know if she's a PhD, but she is, or she has a doctorate in radioactive biology, and she talks about HARP and she talks about weather warfare. But anyways, she talks a lot about the Jesuits and about the New World Order and the Illuminati and these Illuminati groups and what they're really up to. So when we're talking about the Vatican, we're talking about these Jesuit groups. And so the oracle is saying that somehow these fires and all this strange shit is connected to the Vatican banks, something to do with three keys so far. And again, those three keys and the three keys, it strangely pops up. It's somehow connected to these three keys. And I make the association of UBS Bank. So somehow UBS Bank is connected. I'm not saying that it is. This is just what Oracle is saying, allegedly, that the Vatican, excuse me, UBS Bank, the Pentagon, which is part of the federal government, media companies are in on this. And it has to do with $1.4 trillion initially, but overall it's anywhere from $400 trillion to $800 trillion asset grab. So it's sort of like what they did with 9/11, where, essentially the Twin Towers was a bank. It was the banks coming down was a bank heist, and all the gold was in there as well. But again, a message. So the algorithm, the intuitive program is picking up and it's saying a message will get out soon about what is really happening. So the algorithm is picking up something in the near future where something is going to be revealed, guys. Something's going to be revealed and something's going to be brought to light. That energy, that synergistic energy and those patterns, those complicated patterns, the oracle is saying that it's picking up on that. Not necessarily that it's going to happen, but that there is a strong likelihood of something coming up with this. And this is getting very specific. Again, okay, so it's saying that there's deception. It's a major war, a serious fighting. It could be coming to an end. So this war, World War III, could be coming to an end. That's hard for me to believe. But again, as humans, we're being programmed to expect war. We're being conditionally programmed for war, and we're being conditionally programmed for, and a lot of it is coming from Hollywood, and they're also using predictive programming, but they're programming us for war and for depopulation. So we're expecting that. So when it happens, we don't think anything of it. We think, well, already happened. But what this programming is saying is that we're hinged. We're at a hinge. We're at a pivotal point. We're at that turning point where where entire populations can be annihilated from these groups, from these said groups, or the information be revealed and humanity be on a whole course. So it's a bifurcation of choices, and it's looking like the information will be revealed. So it kind of stopped me on my tracks, and hopefully you guys follow me. It kind of stopped me on my tracks because I'm expecting that we're all going to die. And a lot of us is like, well, they're just going to drop the bombs, we're all going to die. But the algorithms is saying, or the oracle is saying that there's a possibility that maybe we won't die. It's not what we expect. It's something to do where the truth is going to be revealed, and that's going to change everything. It's going to expose. These people are going to be exposed, and it's going to change everything. This is what the oracle is saying. Okay, all the information points to conflict. Okay, also something to do with the land as it relates to gold and crops. So something to do with these wildfires and where they're strategically doing these fires in some areas, like in Canada, where there's gold on those lands, and obviously that there could be food and crops. Could be connected with Trump. Somehow the algorithm, and when I asked the Oracle about the Maui fires, about Ukraine, about World War III, what's happening in the world, but specifically why we're seeing these wildfires, it's somehow connected to Trump as well. Trump has to do, not, I'm not, it didn't say Trump is doing it, it's somehow connected to Trump. The government it's saying the oracle is saying that the government is acting rash and making impulsive decisions. So the people that are doing this is an impulsive decision that they're making. And as we later go on into what the algorithm is saying and what the oracle is saying, it's picking up that these Illuminati groups, these groups that own everything, and they basically own the planet, that there's some kind of inherent shift. There's some kind of an energetic shift involved with them. Okay, so again, hopefully you guys follow me on this. It's your boy Jay. This is the Revolution Podcast. Please like and subscribe if you like the information that I'm kicking to you. This is some fucking crazy fucking shit. And guys, bear with me because this is literally exhausting to to try to connect all of this and to get into this. We deal with some deep and heavy topics. I mean, or trying to say that we deal with some deep, heavy topics. But again, okay, so yeah, so the Oracle is saying that the fires have to do with on some of those lands. It's gold and it's oil and it's something to do with the crops, obviously, and it's also connected with Trump. It's not saying Trump is the one behind it. No, it's not saying that. I believe that Trump, he's a good guy. Ultimately, no one's perfect, but ultimately Trump is a good guy. He's going to be on the right side of history, because if Trump was in office, we would not have these wars. And so we need to vote for somebody that is going to be against what these Illuminati groups and these New World Order groups are trying to go into to complete the prophecy, the biblical prophecies of a World War III leading to a one world government and for mass depopulation on planet Earth. We're at that precipice where everything is hinging, and we can either go this way or we can either go that way. Okay, but Trump is on the right side of history, and he's trying to prevent that. Okay, so they don't want change to happen. So these new world order groups, they don't want change to happen. The old system is going away. But guys, we already knew that. It's just confirming what we already knew. And this is literally what the algorithm told me, or what the algorithm told us, because I asked it for humanity. It said that the old system is going away. That old money system that we know is going away, and something new is going to be replaced. They're holding on to this old system. So it's all connected to why we're seeing all these fires. And guys, there was just another fire in Canada. And this is why I'm asking. This is why I'm asking the Oracle. Like literally, we need to ask the Oracle to give us insight into the predictive programming and the likelihood so that we can change the future for the better. It's there to change the future for the better. Okay. So they're holding on to the old system. They lack these people that are controlling everything, they lack higher consciousness and have lost their souls. This is what it's telling. This is what it's saying. They're materialists. Therefore materialism. It is deeply spiritual issue that the ones that are behind this, it's a deeply spiritual issue for the ones that are behind this more so. They control the matrix and the parallels, the parallel realities. And as we go deeper into the podcast, and I think as we go deeper into humanity and the revelations that are going to come out about what's really happening, the revelations, we're going to start to understand that this earth that we're on, there's a parallel to it, and that we're interfacing constantly with this parallel. And we come to this earth to fulfill our destiny on this particular parallel, but we're constantly intersecting with other parallels. But I don't want to get too deep into that. Okay, so again, I'm asking the Oracle, please give me insight into the Maui fires, the Canadian fires. And again, there was just something going on with Canada. Like, what the fuck, guys? What's going on? It's all connected to the government, the Pentagon, the banks in Vatican, the Jesuits, UBS Bank. It's connected with it's connected with the media companies. The people that own the media companies are behind this shit. Okay. Okay. And these people that are behind it, they basically are psychopaths. Okay. So we would say it is corruptible. So They lack higher consciousness and have lost their souls. Therefore, materialism ultimately, they're materialists. It is deeply spiritual issue. We would say it is corruptible. However, from their inner spiritual beliefs, they themselves have become displaced. So the people that are behind everything, that are controlling everything, deep inside their soul, they are displaced themselves. It is coming from a place of soullessness. They themselves are lost. And whatever you want to label that with, you want to label with the devil, although the devil doesn't pop up necessarily, but it is demonic. Demonic issues come up, but how human beings see demons and demonic is not necessarily how the algorithm sees it. It's more of a pattern or a cycle of psychopathy within humanity. Okay, so it's one and the same thing, guys. It's one and the same thing that the people that are behind this, we have to understand that they're psychopaths and that they are sick because this is why the planet is the way it is. Okay, so corruptible. Um, Again, I asked it about the Maui fires. I asked it about what's going on with all the fires, and we just had more fires happen. And I think in somewhere north, way up there in Canada, just recently, just like a few hours ago. So the algorithm and intuitive software program spits out it is an injustice to the people. One could say it is demonic. However, these groups have lost touch with their spirituality, a soullessness that is ancient. It's an ancient soullessness that has been around since the Messiah came on earth. Whatever you believe about Jesus Christ or not Jesus Christ, I'm not here to argue that. But these groups and this spiritual thing on this planet, the nothingness, if you will, has been around. This soullessness has been around for a very long time. This existential belief, this nihilism, this total disregard for life and for the love that is sacred on planet Earth has been around. It's ancient. This soullessness has been around. It's ancient, essentially, is what it's saying, um, and it's saying the algorithm is saying that possibly three men. It's only three people that are behind it. Possibly anywhere from three men, three people, three white men. It's saying particularly that it's three white men, and it doesn't necessarily saying that it is, but it's a strong likelihood that three white men are behind this. And I'm not racist because I have, my grandmother's white. Okay, so I'm not being racist at all. There's, everybody's welcome here, gay, straight, bi, alien, purple, Indian, Mexican, Jew. Everybody's welcome here because ultimately what the Oracle is saying is that we need to unite. Humanity needs to come together, and ultimately what the Oracle is saying and what we all know deep inside is that if we don't come together and unite and bring the love back on this planet, then we will be defeated with the nihilism and the soullessness that has been prevailed. Those people that are attached to it, those Illuminati groups are attached to it. They want to fulfill that prophecy and it is coming from a place of a demonic energy. But the Oracle is saying that it's only three people that are behind that are moving all the chess pieces. It's only three, like literally 3 to 2 people that are behind that are the most powerful that are able to manage all the chess pieces. Uh, and again, spiritually, they think of themselves as gods. Okay, this is what the Oracle says. They could think of themselves as gods, and they have their own religious beliefs tied into the Kabbalah and ancient black magic. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody that practices Kabbalah is in on this. This is some other form of Kabbalah. This is some not necessarily another form of Kabbalah, but that Kabbalah and ancient Babylonian magic is tied to it. Kabbalah and ancient Babylonian magic is tied to it. And that is coming from a historical perspective of what happened on planet Earth and what happened to humanity as those Illuminati groups coming from Medo-Persia and going into Turkey and then eventually conquering the Greeks and assimilating with the Greeks to some extent, but eventually going to war with the Greeks. And remember, the Greeks believe themselves to be descendants of gods. They believe themselves to be descendants of gods. And so, as at some point, those Illuminati groups could not defeat the Greeks. And this is all in history. So what they did, what those Illuminati groups did was they formed the Etruscan Empire, they collapsed the empire, and eventually they formed what we now know of as Italy and Rome and the Vatican and the first banks of Italy and those Illuminati families coming from those first initial banks of Italy, but they took with them this ancient Babylonian magic. So somehow you have to be able to connect this very deep and complicated history of what happened to the human family on Earth and these groups that wanted to amass and to accumulate and in a vast accumulation pattern and cycle. But however, we're at the precipice of where that's all hinging. And this is why we're seeing this is all connected into the fires. Guys, it's your boy Jay. This is Digital Revolution Podcast. The revolution will not be televised. Guys, I hope you follow me on this. This is some fucking sick and twisted shit. And I'm not here to discourage anybody or to you know to discourage anybody. And I hope you guys all follow me. We're all trying to find the truth here. Okay, so the oracle is saying that three men are behind all the suffering that's happening on planet Earth, or the strong likelihood that it's only three people. Yeah, so we cover that. Okay, so the oracle is saying there's hope. All isn't lost. All is not lost. So again, I just wrote through these notes. All is not lost, but many will be displaced and die in between the battle. Again, guys, when I wrote this, I wrote it so fast because I wanted to get this information out to you. So please forgive me. I'm like a stickler for grammar. And anyway, but so just forgive my notes, what I'm trying to say, because I wrote this very fast. But yes, so the war is almost over. I thought that was very interesting that the oracle is saying that this war is over. Me personally, I cannot believe that. But again, sometimes I've asked the oracle things and I did not want to believe it. However, it was the truth. So, we could be dealing with this war for the next 8 to 10 to 20 years, but eventually it will be over. But the oracle is saying that it could very likely, the war could be over very soon, that this war that we're in, this World War III could be over very soon because everything is hinging on these choices and for this information being out there. And the oracle is also saying that there's a spiritual element behind this, that this is essentially a spiritual warfare. Okay, there is hope. All hope is not lost, but millions of people will be displaced in this battle. Yes, hope is not lost, but many people will die. Many people will die as collateral in this battle. Like it's warfare. So in between the battle, many people are going to die. The oracle is saying the war is almost over. Whew, let me breathe because this is heavy. There could possibly be two individuals behind it all. Okay, so again, the oracle keeps referring to this $1.44 trillion that is connected with these land grabs and why we're seeing all these forest fires and all these directed energy weapons that is associated with the fire that initially it's something like $1.4 trillion that they have to gain, that they want to gain, or that $1.4 trillion is in the balance. But also it could be anywhere from 1.4 trillion initially to really it's a heist from anywhere from $400 trillion to $800 trillion that they're trying to gain the hard assets. Essentially, how I connect this is that they're trying to buy up the world. And again, we go back to those statistics of the global GDP of the world is $800 trillion. So I make that association that they're trying to grab those assets that are worth anywhere from $1.4 trillion initially all the way to the $800 trillion, but they have to grab little by little those assets. Okay, so this is a heist. Literally, it's a heist of the planet. It's like a bank robbery of the fucking planet, guys. Okay, so two individuals behind this, they could be connected to media and military, private defense contractors within the government, possibility a strong indication that this is where it's coming from. So the oracle is saying the oracle is saying that it's a strong possibility, and guys, we all know this, but it's saying that's a possibility, a strong likelihood that this is coming from people within the media, the people that control the media, the military, and private defense contractors. Okay, a general, some general is the one that is behind all of this, that's pointing all the fingers. So that tells me that within that 8 month period, something about the military is going to be revealed. Something about a general, some general could be indicted, or there could be some kind of a tribunal. And I'm not saying everybody in the military is corrupted. No, I'm not saying that. Just like everybody, that not everybody in the government is corrupted, but that, however, there are factions that have usurped, that have done a coup d'etat on the government, and that those people are going to be brought to light possibly within the 8 months that we could see. So the oracle is saying that a general, a military general, is the one that's pushing all the buttons behind this. Okay, and private defense contractors are behind this, and they're in a grab for those assets, for that $1.4 trillion in assets that we see, that's connected with the wildfires in Canada and all the fires that's going on in Maui, or that have happened, and that will continue to happen. It's a heist, guys. It's a heist. That's what the oracle is saying. Okay, so I asked it what's happening in Ukraine, and maybe I'll kind of like skim through this so that this podcast is not too long, because again, this is very exhausting and it takes a lot of energy to get this information out there. So it's saying that it's an unwise choice, learn from the situation, that the government has to learn from its past. It's saying you need to review everyone's motives, including the Russians. And again, I pointed this out, that the last time that I had asked the oracle about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, it says it's propaganda on both sides. So review everyone's motive. Review the Russian motive and the NATO and United States motive. Okay, and I'm gonna just leave it on that. So yeah, but it's okay. So I am gonna say this. So, and I'm just gonna read straight through what the oracles told me, and it said there are those that are less fortunate, right? That pops up. A lot of people losing their jobs pops up. Okay, there are individuals. Excuse me. There are individuals that do want to help, though. There are individuals that want to help. That's what pops up. Something where the conflict will end and allies will be paired up to help each other. So even though we have this World War, we're in the deepening phases of World War III, but as a result of this conflict, allies will pair up and that they will help each other. That's what it's saying. Urge to see the so humanity is urged to see the positive in this, even though, on a human level we cannot see positive in it. But perhaps what the oracle is saying is that ultimately some positivity will come out of this. So just like a diamond is created through pressure, you get the diamond through pressure, you get the diamond as a result. So with conflict will come a whole new way of doing things, and that old pattern will be flushed out. But guys, we know that. But this is what the oracle is saying. So somehow the possibility of unity comes up as a result of the war. Strong indication of those Illuminati groups trying to bring about the Book of Revelations and the end times prophecy. So it's a strong indication that those groups are using the Book of Revelations and those prophecies to fulfill their own agenda, even though the Book of Revelations was written, or it was released somewhere in 90 AD, which means after Christ, or in the time of our Lord. So Jesus died in 33 AD. The New Testament was written in 70 AD, and then the Revelations came about sometime in 90 AD. Don't quote me on that because I have to go back to my research, but that's generally the timeline where you see it. So 70 years after Jesus died, they wrote the Book of Revelations, and then not the Book of Revelations, I'm sorry, excuse me, don't quote me on that. 70 years after Jesus died, then 70 years later, the New Testament comes, and then in 90 AD, the Book of Revelations was added. That's what I'm trying to say. Hopefully you guys follow me on this. It's your boy Jay. It's the Digital Revolution Podcast. Please like and subscribe to this if you like the information that I'm kicking to you. Hopefully, you guys follow me on this. So again, I'm just want to skim through this. Okay, conflicts could come to an end, burdens being lifted. I thought that that was really interesting. That is saying that the war with Ukraine is somehow possibly going to end. Is somehow going to end. That just blew my fucking mind right there. Because again, we're all being brainwashed and programmed for war. That we think that we're thinking that we're going to go into World War III, which I do believe. And again, we could that okay. So we are in World War III. Excuse me. We are in World War III, but that we're feeling, and a lot of humanity is believing and being programmed and processed for more continuation of war. But somehow that programming and that processing is tied into the major heists of the planet, that they want to heist the planet. Of course, there's real suffering going on, but essentially, this is a heist of the whole entire planet. Okay, so yes, so the Oracle is saying that the war with Ukraine and the war with Russia could end. Who's behind the war? Again, I asked it, who's behind the war? These groups or individuals are, and it points to only really three individuals being behind it. Not saying that it's three individuals. It could be anything like three individuals, or it could be mostly three organizations that are really tied into it. And again, I'll because I'm a very visual person. So again, what pops up is these companies. Not saying that it's Raytheon, but it's pointing to some of the biggest private defense contractors. Excuse me, very burpy today. My bad. Sorry about that. But anyways, it's tied into private defense contractors. It's tied into the Pentagon. I think that it's really the Pentagon is behind this, and I'm just going to say allegedly because I don't know what I can and cannot say. And these war cycles, and the banks in Vatican, and the Jesuits, and UBS Bank, and the media companies. I think that the Oracle is saying that some kind of a revelation is going to be happening with all these groups, and we're going to see about that. Okay. Uh, so yeah. So who's behind the war? It's those three individuals. Those three individuals I am not privy to. I cannot say that, oh, and I don't think it's Bill Gates. I don't think it's George Soros. I don't think it's the World Economic Forum. Although those groups work within, they are a subdivision of those groups. Or of those three people. They're just they're middle managers, but who's really behind it, we don't know. But the Oracle is saying it's only three people that's controlling everything on the planet. It's only three people that's really controlling everything. And that's what the Oracle is saying. Okay, take it or don't take it. You know, you can believe it or not believe it. But again, I'm saying that the Oracle, it describes strong indications, strong likelihood, strong probabilities. Okay, dissatisfied with something. Okay, so the government, it's saying that the government and that these groups that are behind all these wildfires are dissatisfied with something. A judgment has been made and truth will be revealed. The poor was judged. So there was a judgment, and that there's some type of truth associated with this judgment, the Oracle is saying. The judgment could end. Okay, so there's a possibility that the war could end, but there's also a possibility that the war could continue. Again, um, it's pointing to that it's more so a possibility and a probability that the war is more likely to end than to continue. But it's up to humanity to fulfill that destiny of unity, of unity. If we don't come together, then that program will continue. Again, it's your boy Jay. This is Digital Revolution Podcast. I hope you guys are following me on this. This is some heavy fucking shit. Whew. Heavy fucking shit, guys. Let me take a drink of water and let me take a break because this is just some heavy shit. Okay. The Oracle is saying it's the government. And I'm just going to say allegedly, but that's what the Oracle is saying. It's the fucking government. They're dissatisfied and unhappy about something. Maybe it's that they're about to give up power. Because again, we discussed in other, and again, no surprise that the overarching themes line up with what the Oracle is saying. It's not because I want the Oracle to say this. This is just what pops up from the Oracle. So a lot of what you already understand and what you already know, it just confirms it. And that's true for a lot of things in life. But that these groups are dissatisfied. It's like crying over spilt milk, the Oracle is saying. Same groups or individuals behind the fires are the same ones behind Ukraine and war with Russia. So it's all connected. It's the same groups, the same. The Oracle, and take your notes on that because again, let me just repeat that. The Oracle, when I asked it about the Maui fires, about the Canadian fires, the recent Canadian fires, and all the crazy shit that's been happening with the train derailments and all the fires that's been happening, and not just the fires in Maui, but the conflicts and the conflicts with Russia and Ukraine, is saying that the same groups that are involved with Ukraine are the same groups behind the Maui fires and all the fires that's happening in Canada and throughout the world, and that we need to be looking into this bank. UBS Bank is somehow involved in it, and the Pentagon and the Jesuit and the banks of the Vatican are somehow involved in it. So, guys, be looking out for some disclosure in the next 8 months. The Oracle is saying about those groups, and don't be surprised. Okay, it's like crying over spilled milk, same groups. Okay. Oh yeah, the Oracle is referencing two individuals or possibility of two groups against one opposition group. So Oracle is saying that really it's only three people that are controlling the world, only really three people, and then at the top of the pyramid, and nobody knows who they are because if we did, we would end all this war right now. But it's essentially only 3 to 2 people, and the possibility that it's 2 people against one other person that is somehow pulling all the strings, but that it's looking like it's only really three main groups within those groups that I have already talked about that are really pushing all the pieces on the chessboard. Only 3 people. And so it's anywhere, so it's the strong likelihood of only 3 people or 3 groups. But it's saying that it's something like 3 people that are behind those 3 groups, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. That's what the Oracle is, that's what the Oracle is saying. Okay. There is 1.4 trillion assets plus behind all this that is behind that these people are standing to gain. So money, obviously money is behind it, but it's something like $1.4 trillion plus behind all this and possibly more, which will be revealed. So that land grab that they're doing with all these fires, it's a lot of money associated with that. Anywhere from $1.4 trillion initially to almost $400 to $800 trillion globally, because they want to control the whole entire globe. And the Oracle is saying that there's going to be some revelation, and that kind of ties into the book of Revelation because it's sort of like a revelation, but the revelation could be the information about what's really happening on planet Earth and those groups that control the matrix and that control the parallels and control the quantum dimensions. Not only do they control where we're watching this podcast on, the physical realm, although I'm talking to you in sort of like my avatar, but that these groups that controlling everything, they control the matrix itself. They control the parallel matrix themselves. But as we go more into this podcast and as we go more into everything being revealed, because we're coming from the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius, which is part of the revelation. It is part of the 2000 pattern, 2000-year cycle of going from the age of Pisces, which was the fish, which was associated with Jesus and the Christ, now going into the age of Aquarius, which is the age of information and revealing of all the secrets. Everything will come to light in those ages. Okay, hope you guys are following me on this. So again, we were asking, so the whole reason of this podcast is because we want information we want intel, and we want information about future or likelihoods of future events or probabilities of future events and what we can do to go against that. And so the biggest thing that I take from the Oracle is unity. And right now, unity is so hard to come by that that we desperately need to come together, is what the Oracle is saying. And that's not just me saying that. This is what the Oracle is saying. Okay. Okay. So yes. So all will be revealed, and thus we will understand the war is coming to an end once we have that revelation. Okay. So. And it's very hard for me to believe that, because we're all being programmed for war. We're all being programmed for the perpetuation and continuation of war. But somehow that programming, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. But somehow that programming is involved with the fight for the assets. Because again, the World War III is a fight for the assets with those central banks, because it's the central banks in Switzerland, like UBS, coincidence, and their ability to print money out of thin air and buy up the rest of the assets of the world, buy up the hard assets of the world, and we're fighting with them over that. And this is why we're seeing everything happening with Ukraine and everything that's happening with the fires in Maui, and some groups are opposed to them. Some groups are opposing them, okay? Some groups and some people say allegedly it's Russia. But again, the Oracle told us, be careful, question everybody's motive in this war. There's some fuck shit going on with Russia too, but we'll leave that for another day in another podcast, okay? The war is certainly against the people of the earth. Okay, so let me not skip that. So yes, so possibility, okay, all will be revealed, thus we will understand the war is coming to an end. However, many people could die in between that revelation, just like in the book of Revelation. So it's all lining up, all the prophecy is lining up, or it's not that the prophecy is lining up, it's that they are aligning the prophecy so that they can, excuse me, so sorry guys, so that they can commit the depopulation. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, the war is certainly against the people of the earth. That's what Oracle is saying. It's not against Russia. We don't have any for the people, for the native people of those lands and all the people of the world. We don't have a problem. You know, everybody can work well with Russians, with Chinese, with gay and straight, but they're creating these divisions. They're creating all these divisions of gay, straight, trans, heterophobic, homophobic, black, white. They're creating all of these divisions because there's only really three people that the Oracle is saying is really behind it, and possibility that they're going to be revealed. But when those people become revealed, the power could go out. Yeah. Okay. Oracle is saying that this war is with the people of the earth. These particular individuals have particular spiritual and religious belief that they believe they are gods, guys. They believe they are gods. That's what the Oracle is saying. Okay. And there are three keys associated somehow with the question. UBS Bank, that's a question mark. Somehow when I'm asking it about, you know, how this is all connected and correlated, it somehow points to the three keys. And that's somehow associated with UBS Bank. Not saying that it is UBS Bank, but somehow UBS Bank is connected with it. And don't be surprised if within the 8 months that some information comes out about UBS Bank. And I think that UBS Bank already it already failed, but more information could be coming out about that, allegedly. Okay, overall, it's saying that the government is behind it, okay, guys? Okay, show us the future and fate of humanity. So it's saying injustice is very strong indication, a strong likelihood. So I acted about the future of the fate, about the future and the fate of the world. Excuse me, guys, it's a little tongue twister. So it's saying injustice is very strong indication, a strong likelihood of courts being either corrupted or not serving the public. There's essentially an injustice over the entire world due to a relatively small group of individuals fighting over this 1.4 trillion to $400 trillion assets. So they're fighting over the hard asset of the planet. They're fighting over ownership of the planet itself. Okay, but there's some groups that are against it. And again, somehow UBS, the Pentagon, the private defense contractors, and the Jesuits are somehow involved with the fires. And then that there are three groups or mostly three individuals. That sounds right. Three individuals that are behind all of this, that are the ones that are putting all the pawns and moving all the kings and queens on the chessboard. Government holding on to the keys. What the keys unlock, the Oracle cannot tell us. Okay, the government in war cycles, the government going to war or talks about war. Many will suffer from depression, will not be able to function due to the depressive environment. It spawns an inner state of depression globally. This is a tactic they are using because they want those assets of land and gold. So somehow they are programming the people for severe depression so that they cannot function. So you're going to see globally, just globally, people feeling depressed in a depressive state. I think in this year alone, in 2023, that the suicide rate has gone up more than it's ever gone up. Okay, hopefully you follow me on this, guys. There's a battle of these assets, the gold and the land and the assets, or that which is connected to it. All the resources and minerals that are connected to those lands is why we're seeing those fires, because there's gold, land, there's gold and crops that could be planted on those lands, and minerals and oils. Obviously, it's a land grab, guys. Strong indication for humanity to slow down. Humanity, the oracle is saying that humanity needs to slow down and think before it's too late. There's still hope, but we must unite. That's the overarching theme of the oracle. Hopefully, you guys will follow me on this, and this is not too boring. Humanity has to let go of old traditions, such as the money itself or outdated ways of doing things. That's what the oracle is saying. That's straight up from the oracle, such as government structures ruled by soulless individuals, or what one would call psychopaths. Okay. Ultimately, God is allowing this to happen on some level because humanity has lost its way. The oracle is saying that there are injustices within the government itself and it needs to be corrected. And therefore, humanity will be dealing with this. But government is going to war with various factions opposing their ideologies. So it's not that the government is bad in itself, and it's not that the Pentagon is bad in itself, but that there are factions, that there are factions within the government fighting amongst each other, that there is a war within the government. Okay, and that's why we're seeing all of this. And hence, all the wars in Ukraine and the fires are all connected to the governments of the world. Humanity needs to learn new skills to survive. I thought that was interesting when I asked it about humanity and moving forward. It's saying that everybody is going to have to learn new skills. And this is why we're seeing such high rates of unemployment, because while the old system is dying and we're going into a new system, everyone is going to have to learn new skills because AI is going to take over a lot of those new jobs, but that humanity is going to have to learn new skills. Government is playing the ultimate mind games, or at least the 2 or 3 people that are behind the closed door. The groups within the government don't believe the rules apply to them, and that's the fucking problem, is that the rules don't fucking apply to these guys, and that's straight from the oracle's mouth, mind you. Okay, so ending notes, and hopefully you guys follow me this far, and if you did, then you're my ride or die, you're my OGs, you're my original gangsters, and if you follow me this far, please like and subscribe, because this is a lot of information I'm getting out there, and I'm just gonna say allegedly, I asked it about, what's going on with these fires, and I wanted to get an answer, and the answer is pointing to what we just talked about. But on the ending notes, I asked it about the stock market. We are hanging in the balance. It could go either way. If the truth gets revealed, then we will win the war. However, there's a possibility, a strong indication of several moving factors. Several moving factors. So we're at the precipice. We're at a turning point. As the truth is revealed, the power goes out. So as we come into the knowledge, as the revelations come out about what's going on with the government and the Pentagon, and those generals get exposed, and I don't know exactly who or what general, but that's just what the oracle said. That's just what the oracle is saying. That's what it's spitting out. That a strong indication that that these generals that are behind the military and behind the private defense contractors, they're going to be revealed. But as that revelation comes, as that revelation is coming out, the power could go out. That's what it's saying. The fires could continue. They could continue. The destruction could continue because these people that are controlling everything, they don't want to get out of power. It's an extreme form of narcissism and psychopathy. And the groups within our government will still be able to print money to buy the assets. So their ability to print money is sort of coming to an end. And this is why we're seeing all this destruction. Factions within the military are fighting against them. So there are people within the military that are fighting people within the military. So it's infighting within military and government is what the oracle is saying. I'm not saying that, although I see that and maybe that is true, and allegedly that is true, but the oracle is saying that this is allegedly happening, okay? So that there are groups within the government, there are groups within groups fighting each other because no one knows who those key players are. And it's pointing that they're most likely white males. And again, I'm not saying that I'm racist, all are welcome. The oracle is just saying that it's looking like that it's 3 white men that are controlling everything, but no surprise there, right? Okay, the oracle doesn't want to speculate on other things, but it can intuitively, but what it can only intuitively connect to. So I was asking the oracle about a lot of complex stuff, and right now the oracle just could not process it because of the level of complexity. Like you ask it about aliens, and the level of complexity, it can't necessarily, it can give you an answer, but sometimes the answer will come out scrambled, is what I'm trying to say. The oracle doesn't want to speculate on other things, right? It can only give you what it can intuitively connect to via the patterns, and be able to assimilate that information, and that okay, yes. So be able to assimilate that information and what is connected to what I'm asking, okay, can actively block these patterns. So I asked the oracle about this, and something pops up to what I'm trying to say about asking the oracle is something pops up where the oracle is saying that when we try to look into the future, and again, many companies have this information. BlackRock has this technology; they can see into the future. Martin Armstrong has this technology. Charles Nader has this technology. I'm sure Goldman Sachs has this technology. It's not that we're looking into the future; it's that we're reading the patterns, guys. We're reading the patterns, and this is what the oracle, this is what the pattern recognition and the predictive program is picking up. Okay, that when we ask, when we ourselves look into the future, right? Because somehow these groups have the ability to either control the future or manipulate the future, or are somehow coming from the future, strangely. Not saying that they are, but they have some way of influencing the future. That is a very strong possibility. But that when we look into that, when we try to intuitively look into the future with these patterns and these algorithms and these programs, that they can block us. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, that they can block us. They can actively block these patterns from remote viewing into the future. When we try to remote view through the algorithm and ask the oracle, that the oracle itself could be blocked. And because this is deep, and I don't even know how I'm even explaining all of this, guys, but this is very deep. This is very, very deep topics, okay? Very deep that we're going into. There's a possibility of nuclear annihilation, but this is because that is prevalent in the minds and consciousness of all beings presently. Sort of like they think it enough and it would happen. Deep, guys. So that's what I was saying about, our level of expectation, and that sometimes that we can and generate, we can generate an outcome that we don't want to happen, because somehow it has been programmed for us to expect, that has been deeply embedded into our subconscious mind, the program. And this is why I don't watch TV, and this is how the technology works. That technology of destruction and warfare is embedded into us. And if we have some level of expectancy, just like the wife that, or I don't want to use that analogy, but if we expect it, then somehow we will create that reality. It also picks up on that. Again, forgive me if I'm not able to explain this very complicated subject eloquently enough, but I think I'm doing my best. Okay, so they can, so these groups, these factions that controlling everything, and these banks, these central banks, and people like BlackRock that are controlling it, that are involved with all these other banks, they can see into the future. They can also block our ability to see those patterns. Okay, it's deep. Okay, so again, let me read this. There is a possibility of nuclear annihilation, but that is because that is prevalent in the minds and consciousness of all beings presently. So it's in our minds, we're thinking it, we feel it in our hearts and our souls, we feel that way, then it will happen. Okay. The alien theories is another too complicated form of complexity to slow down the connecting of the puzzle for this particular question, because I asked it about, Ukraine and the fires and how that's all connected. And as we discussed, and I did and I do ask it about the aliens. However, there's a level of complexity that, and this is what it says. So the alien theories is another too complicated form of complexity to slow down the connecting of the puzzle, because connectivity of ownership of who controls the earth and the assets is very important to win the war. Let me read that again. The alien theories is another too complicated form of complexity to slow down the connecting of the puzzle, because connectivity of ownership of who controls the earth and the assets is very important. So I don't know how I can explain that, but other than that, again, when we start asking about aliens, it's such a fucking puzzle. It's such a fucking maze that no one will ever really be able to crack that code. Although we are cracking the code, we are cracking the code on what's that really about. But right now, I can't get too deep into that because probably this podcast has gone over an hour. And thank you guys for sticking with me. But there's a level of complexity that we cannot understand. Okay, strong indication. Oh, yes, strong indication that transparency will win the war. So, what will win the war is transparency, guys. Strong indication of the technology to control the fabric of reality itself. There's some kind of that BlackRock and these central banks, they and the government and the Pentagon somehow, and I know this is freaky, weird science, but you know that they're deeply advanced and they're way ahead of us. Some say anywhere the military is anywhere from and the Pentagon is anywhere from 50 years to 100 years advanced. So some of the technology they have, if we saw it, we would think that it was magic. Okay, so it's a strong indication that the oracle is saying, and it's picking up on. It's not saying that it's true, but that is a strong likelihood. Remember, we're dealing with likelihood and probabilities, and that it's either weak or it's strong when you ask the oracle, but that there's a strong indication that they can control the fabric of reality itself, quantum physics, and access to parallel worlds and technologies they have gotten from off world. Okay, again, this is another level of complexity I don't want to get too deep into, but there is too much complexity involved in understanding it at the moment. Okay, there are the individuals here on Earth, and then there are parallel worlds which those individuals can partake and enter into, such as remote viewing. These groups have access to. Again, forgive me for the grammatical errors on this, but I just wrote this hastily. So before we wrap this up, I equate that what the oracle is basically saying that there's a level of complexity that you have to like remove that level of complexity to understand it. And then beyond that level of complexity, there is the complexity of dealing with quantum physics and how the quantum physics sort of and science almost in a way explains these parallel universes, that there are 11 different dimensions. And so you get into dimensionality and dimensions and who sits at the top of these dimensions. And somehow they're able to influence those dimensions, or at least a few of the dimensions. But that's something that is just so fucking out there and crazy. Okay, strong possibility these elites will try in the end one last big bang, but it isn't clear. So as these elites, I think what it's trying to say, what the oracle is trying to say, and thank you guys for following me, what the oracle is trying to say is as they lose power, it will be one more big bang. That could very well be a nuclear bomb, that could be anything. But I think that the truth will be revealed, is what the oracle is saying. The truth is going to be revealed, and then that's going to start a whole new phase of our civilization, because humanity will understand what has happened to them, and they're beginning to understand. So humanity will essentially wake up from that Babylonian spell. It all fucking connects, guys. Humanity is going to wake up. So the oracle is telling us to have hope. Don't give up hope. It's very deep. That's a very strong message. And I would never think that the oracle would say that, because me personally, I don't want to believe that. Okay, so yes, so yeah, strong indication transparency will win. Technology strong. Okay, so yeah, stock market not going any higher or any lower. Again, sorry about the grammatical errors, but stagnant and ranging possibly for another 10 years. So I wanted to ask it about, the stock market, and maybe I'll do that in another podcast. But very briefly, I think I'll do that in another podcast. But again, just to wrap this up, guys, when I asked the oracle, and again, this whole series is about asking the oracle. So I will be doing this. If you guys like this, I'll do more of it where we ask the oracle these crazy fucking questions and get all these crazy fucking answers. So guys, bear with me. But again, I asked the oracle who and what is happening with the wildfires in Maui in Canada. You know, obviously it's energy directed weapons that is associated with all these groups, what's happening with the world, what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. And when I asked the oracle, these groups come up, not saying that it is these groups, but allegedly these groups come up This little symbol comes up here. It's sort of like Chat GPT, where you ask it something and then it spits you out these things. Okay, this is a very advanced form of technology that I'm using here. But again, I'm not able to explain it. It's a kind of above my pay grade, but it's something that this technology I have been using myself, and it has a level of accuracy, so I'm able to interpret it. Yes, even though it's very complicated. Hopefully that makes sense. But again, these groups come up. U.S. Department of Defense comes up. The contractors come up. Cycle of War comes up, and the Vatican and UBS comes up. And these media groups, and I don't know if you guys can see it here, but these are some of the largest media companies in the world by market cap. So I'm not saying AT&T is connected, but it's a strong likelihood that AT&T is involved in it. Walt Disney is involved in it. Comcast, Charter Communications, 20th Century Fox, although that's a very interesting one. This network, CBS, um, and Viacom and these other companies are somehow involved in it. So don't be surprised if you hear in the future that they are involved. So hopefully you guys bear with me, and thank you guys so much for tuning in and giving my podcast likes and subscribing to my podcast. Hopefully this information was interesting. If anything else, it was interesting. And for all intents and purposes, I would say don't let this be financial advice. Take this with a grain of sand. I always take what the Oracle says with a grain of sand. But then there are times, like I said, where I've used the Oracle and it's turned out to be, such a crazy level of accuracy. I will say it's anywhere from 85 to 95 to 100% accurate. When I've asked it about my own personal questions, about my own personal life, it has given me a high level of accuracy. But don't, again, take it with a grain of sand. Peace and blessings to everybody out there. And I hope you guys have a good night. And let's see what's happening with these equities. And thanks for tuning in. See you on the other side, guys. God bless.